In this video, we'll be going over Form SSA-11-BK. This is a request to be selected as a payee, as a representative payee. Most of the time, this form is completed by someone who might be in a guardianship situation, acting as a fiduciary or somehow on the claimant's behalf. So you can complete this form if you're the claimant. We'll walk through this. This document is about 10 pages. About 5 pages are the actual form itself, and then the rest are instructions. So before we go through the form itself, we're actually going to go through some of the information that you should know. So if there are changes in the situation which results in a situation where the claimant is not entitled to any more pay, then these are the situations that warrant an immediate notification to the Social Security Administration. For example, if the claimant dies, then this entitlement ends the month before the month in which the claimant died. If they marry, then there could be changes to their entitlements. Divorce, annulment, school attendance changes, like if the claimant was a minor and then reaches the age of 18, they're still entitled to benefits as a full-time student, but this is information that the Social Security Administration needs to know to ensure proper payment. Divorce, full retirement age, a government pension, or an annuity that might impact benefits, jail or incarceration, felony warrants. So there's a complete list of that here. If the claimant is receiving disability benefits, then there are additional reporting criteria. If they start work, if their medical condition improves, if they get workers' comp, if they're discharged from a hospital. There's also situations for if they reach the age of 72. And then other information. So if you as the representative change your address, if you are convicted of a felony, or if you have an unsatisfied felony warrant, then the Social Security Administration needs to be notified. So going through the rest of the form are some reminders. At the back of the form, there's a reminder for the applicants of when you receive the request. This is a form that you cannot complete online. So when you take it to the office, before you leave, you'll see a couple of phone numbers in here before you receive a decision notice, and then a different number possibly after you've received a decision notice and have to say something or would like to appeal. And then the date the request was received, as well as your receipt, so that you kind of know what the Social Security Administration is going to do, approximately time frame from which you should be able to hear from the Social Security Administration, things of that nature. As always, there's the Privacy Act statement that states what the Social Security Administration can and can't do with your information. They can release it to a third party in very limited circumstances, and those are all dictated by the Social Security Act and the Privacy Act. There's also the Paperwork Reduction Act statement that says this form should take about 11 minutes to read instructions, gather the facts, and answer questions. This is additional information. I think this is a repeat of what was previously stated. And then for World War II veterans, there's an additional information field. So depending on the type of situation that you're in, you'll see at the top of this Social Security Supplemental Security Income as opposed to regular Social Security. So those are the situations that you must notify the Social Security Administration. Let's go to the top of the form. And again, this is a form that's very rare to find online. You're going to be completing this form in person for several reasons. One, because there's a lot of susceptibility to fraud, so the Social Security Administration wants to make sure that people are applying for this in person. So the Social Security number holder, or their Social Security number, and then the name of the person who might be different, that person's Social Security number go at the top of the form. Now, if you're the claimant, you can simply answer item 1. You'll go down to item 3, 5, 6, and 8, sign the form on page 4, and you're complete. But if you're selected as the payee, then you're going to need to go through the rest of the form. So section 2, you're going to explain why you think that the claimant is not able to handle his or her own benefits. So if you've got a power of attorney, if you're appointed by a court as a guardian, or if the claimant is a minor child and you're filing on that child's behalf, you can select that box. But those are all kind of possible situations in which you would provide a written explanation on why the claimant cannot handle his or her own benefits. In section 3, you're going to explain why you are the best representative payee. And number 4, you would complete the appropriate box based on knowing the claimant's needs. So if you live with the claimant, if you visit daily, if you're visiting once a week, or if there's some other means, then this is where you kind of explain how you know about the day-to-day for your claimant. And then if there's a court-appointed legal guardian and conservator, you would complete that information in box 5. So name, address, phone number, date of appointment, and then right below that, the circumstances of the appointment. So it could be incapacity planning, could be a court-appointed guardianship. In box 6, you're going to outline some of the claimant's information. So in 6A, where does the claimant live? Alone, in my house, with a relative, in a nursing home. And depending on how you answer A, you'll either go to 6B, if they live with you or family, you'll enter the names and relationships of the people that live with the claimant. If they are in a nursing home or some other institution, you'll go directly to C. You'll enter that residence and mailing address information if it's different from yours. And then in box 6D, do you expect the living arrangements to change within the next year? So if you expect that there might be changes coming up, you would probably need to use the remarks field to provide more detail on what changes you think will happen. Box 7, if you're applying on behalf of minors and you are not the parent, then you would need to complete this part. Does the child or children have a natural or adoptive parent? Yes or no. Enter the parent's information if yes. Does the parent show interest in the child? Yes or no. Again, when you're walking through this form with the Social Security representative, it's a little bit easier because you're probably going to be providing documentation that clearly indicates the circumstances that are applicable. Box 8, names and relationships of any other relatives or close friends who have supported the claimant. Describe the type and amount of support and how much interest is displayed. This is really just kind of helping you draw the story about why you're the best person to be the representative. Check the appropriate box that describes your relationship. If you're an official in some sort of public capacity, whether it's a governmental institution, a public official, a social agency, a bank. If you've checked any of those items in 9A, then you only have to check or complete questions 10 and 11, then you sign on page 4. If you complete any of the other ones, B for parent, C for spouse, or some other one of those other fields, legal representative, board and care home operator, then go on to, then you'll just go to question 12. So in box 10, does the claimant owe you or your organization money, either now or in the future? If yes, then you can describe how much they owe, when this debt was incurred, and why it was or will be incurred. And number 11, this is about institutions. You'll enter the name and the employer identification number of the institution that's involved. Information about individuals. So in box 12, you'll enter name, date of birth, your social security number, any other names or social security numbers you've used. Box 13, enter how long you've known the claimant, and if they live with you. In box 14, you'll describe who takes care of the claimant when you're not at the house. What is that person's relationship? Do you have a caretaker? Do you have another relative? So on and so forth. And then the main source of your income in box 15. So if you are employed, then you'll check that box. You'll enter your employer's name and address. If there's any other sources of income, then you can check that appropriately. And if you're self-employed, what type of business? If you have Social Security benefits, whose claim number are they on? If you have a pension, so on and so forth. But this is basically for the Social Security Administration to get a better understanding of your financial circumstances, because they're going to run a background check on you. So that's box 16. Do you give them permission to run a background check? Yes or no? If no, odds are pretty good that you're not going to get this approved. Go down to box 17. Have you been convicted of a felony? If yes, describe the crime, date of conviction, sentence. 17B, if you've been convicted of any offense that resulted in imprisonment for more than a year. If it wasn't a felony, but it was a misdemeanor that somehow lasted more than a year, then you would enter that information on 17. Do you have any unsatisfied felony warrants under 18? And then on box 19, how long have you lived at your address? And right below box 19 is the remarks section. It's pretty small. You may need to attach a separate sheet, but as a word of advice, for every remark that you put in here, I would probably put in the box number. So if you are giving information to support something that you said in, let's call it line 8, maybe you run out of names and relationships, then I would put section 8, continued down at the remarks section. And then there's some information that you'll need to read carefully before signing the form. Basically, that as the representative payee, you must use all the payments for the claimant's needs, either current or future needs. You may be held responsible for repayment if you misuse the money, or if you're at fault for any overpayments. You can be punishable under federal law. And these are all things that you're going to do. You're going to reimburse any losses, file an accounting report to document how the payments were used, only use the payments for the claimant's needs, comply with conditions for reporting events that I previously went through, and then notify Social Security Administration for any changes, specifically if you are no longer the representative payee or the claimant no longer needs a payee. And if all of those things are true, then you're going to ascertain that under penalty of perjury. You're going to sign a date, print your name and title, mailing address with your city, state, and zip code, name of the county that you're in. If you have a different residence number, then you'll enter that right below. You can sign with an X mark, just like with other Social Security Administration forms. If you do sign with an X, then you'll need 2 witnesses who know you personally to sign below, and they must provide their address for verification. So that is all for this Social Security Administration form. As I mentioned, you'll probably only going to find this at the Social Security office. The administration tries to keep this from being an online document for obvious, I guess, fraud and theft avoidance purposes. So if you want any more information, we've posted an article on our website. Go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in SSA-11 in the search bar, and this article should show up. Please follow us on social, either subscribe to our email list through our website, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if there's any questions, please hit us up in the comments or send me an email. Look forward to talking with you, and thank you very much.